Hey, caramba. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the show. This is Ro. This is the podcast called The Stone Genius. Thanks for joining. It is much appreciated. My name is Ro. I am the Stone Genius. Today is episode 124. I don't know why that makes any difference. I do write that down. I don't ever put it on anything. I figure if someone at some point needed to find an episode, there's a way to search that. I'm going to start off today's show. And if you listen to this in order, this will make more sense. Actually, it will make sense even if you listen to it afterwards. So next week, I'm going to have Antonio from Real Men, Real Style on. And because everyone knows I am a one-man show. And if you didn't know that, just listening to me should kind of allow you to know that. So I don't know if a normal podcast, and I don't know what normal is, if a normal podcast reaches, I don't know how they reach out to guests, or do guests, I don't know how that works. So I'm just doing, if there's someone that I want on the show, I'll reach out to them. So I reached out via Instagram, which, you know, if someone's going to ask you to be a guest on their podcast, that's the most logical point of departure for someone. That being said, it's probably not the best way to reach out to someone. I don't know, especially if they have a lot of followers, will they even look? Now, once again, that being said, Morgan Bullock, who was on the show from Riverfest 25, I reached out to them via Instagram as well. And now I will let you know this is too, that these people had other looking at their communications to respond to them because they are too busy to do it themselves. Unlike me, I find the time to do everything. Sorry, that was my glasses. I try to do everything, and I always go back to this is why they're specialists. So what I wanted to say, and it's taken me 3 minutes to get this out, is thank you to Jamie. So when I reached out to Antonio, I reached out via the Instagram page for Real Men, Real Style. And when I did that, I didn't know. I've done that before. There have been people that have, less than 100 followers that I've reached out to just because I would be interested in talking to, and I've never heard from them. And then I've reached out to people that have thousands or millions of followers, and now I've heard back from them. So I just wanted to tell Jamie, thank you. So all we did was communicate via Instagram messaging back and forth, and that's how we set this up. So I am very grateful. Unless the interview goes off the rails or something, actually I'll still be grateful. So that will have nothing to do with, but I'm very appreciative of Jamie. I don't know how you are behind the scenes, but the interactions that I had with you, Jamie, were just amazing. Thank you so much. Hold on. I think I have something for that. Wow. Crowd wasn't very loud this morning. Whoa. Okay. Let's dial it back a notch there, people. Jamie's good, but it's not my assistant. Man, first of all, I hope one day I have an assistant. And it's not so much that having an assistant will really be more for you. When I say that I do this show for me and not for you, it's because I am literally doing everything and I don't know much of what I'm doing. Like I say, if someone would just say, hey, buddy, if you could show up at this time and ask these questions, that would be great. Maybe interject, inject some of your personality, some follow-up questions you deem necessary, that would be excellent. So thank you, Jamie. I've talked about future guest Mike. I gotta get Mike on the show because I've been thinking a lot about dead bodies in the trash. More about finding them than putting them there. But if you're in the trash industry, I would just think, I just have this feeling that bodies, like people that disappear, they've gone somewhere. I just have a feeling that there's more bodies that end up in the trash dump than what we are led to believe. And Kansas City had a huge organized crime through the 70s, 80s. I remember when I was a child about car bombs downtown. And it was just, and as a kid, well, first of all, downtown now is like a 20-minute drive. And I'm living not too far from where I grew up here in Kansas City. And downtown used to be a 40-minute drive just because of streets and everything else. So the drive is different. So we didn't go downtown a lot. And maybe that was because it was not great. I remember back in the 80s, the downtown Kansas City was so run down. They were talking about this power and light district and put bars and do all this. And everyone's like, okay, what? Because we knew how it was then, how it was currently while they were talking about the future. And we're like, okay. And now there's a power and light district. Unfortunately, I am a wee bit too old to really fully enjoy it, I believe. That being said, I've only been there once. So Mike's going to be on the, I wonder if Mike has an assistant. Maybe Mike's assistant's the one that knows where the bodies are hidden. I'm not saying that they're hiding the bodies. I'm not saying they're not hiding the bodies. It's a trash company. I've seen a couple episodes of The Sopranos. And here's the weird thing, that Mike's friend, who I met him through, is in the construction business. Nope. I don't know which one of those. It feels like one of those should have worked, but yet when I pushed all those buttons, none of them worked. Not dissimilar to what I did to Bobby in bed last night. Anyway. So I just think it's weird. It's not like Mike's in the trash removal business, and then his friend here at the complex is like a librarian. Although that may be tied to organized crime too. I don't know. That would be the worst though. So are you with the family? Yeah. What do you do? I'm the Oh, see, I switch voices back and forth. My bad. Using an Italian accent there. I know it didn't sound like an Italian accent, but that was the intent for that accent, to be Italian. It wasn't. I think the only time I sound Italian is when I'm one of the Mario brothers. So I don't know whether I'm going to bring a co-host onto this show or whether I will start another podcast. Maybe that's a question I should ask you, the people. Because we have a very robust following. We're in this together. No, seriously. If I go to court for something I say on here, we're in this together. Or I may just start a different one. So I ask Chris, I go, what do you want to name this show? And he goes, I go, what are we going to call it? Because I've had with a previous co-host, I had the Roro show with Steven. It was my show. I had a co-host, Steven, out of New York City. It was very fun. I was thinking I could do the Roro show and change it to something. But he goes, why don't you still do the Stone Genius? He goes, we could do the Stone Genius and the Sober Misanthrope. I'm letting those crickets do their whole thing. I think they go for like 5 seconds. I was going to let it go for a whole 5 seconds because I wanted it to be uncomfortable there. Okay, first of all, you're going to have people that don't know what misanthrope is. A majority of the people. Just because this is the stone genius. Genius is like the top 2%. So top 2% is going to get that. Maybe top 5%. Maybe top 10%. I know some people, top 10%, who would not know what the word misanthrope is. Doesn't mean anything. Like I say, being a genius doesn't mean you know everything. What else do I got? What's the next note? What do I got here? Dang it. I'm just so... I hope Jamie knows how good Jamie is. And I would like to, like, I don't want to step on Antonio's toes. I would like to talk to Jamie too. Like, how did you become the assistant? What is that? I mean, some people, I don't understand why everyone thinks everyone has to move up. Like, if I said I was an assistant to someone, it would be because I want to do that job, not necessarily because it's a stepping stone to somewhere else. But it very well could be as well. I mean, being someone's assistant is a great way to learn it. So I don't know, but whatever. Yeah. Not gonna say that. Okay, so I'm gonna keep on with the sober misanthrope. Misanthrope doesn't like crowd, doesn't like people. Now you know. That would be both me and Chris. So it'd be redundant, actually. There would be conflict. It would be the stone genius and the sober misanthrope, but we're both misanthropes. I don't know. Hold on. Let's let that puppy warm up. The last few years, I have worked with a group of individuals that average about 30 years younger than myself. 30 to 32 years is what the average age difference is. In fact, I've often said that out of our numerous employees, and we have quite a few, that there's only a couple that you could take the two of them, add their age together, and it exceed my age by myself. So I know how old I am. I think I've used the story of the albino squirrel before. How it's kind of weird when I watch. So we have a squirrel that I haven't seen in a while, but it's either all gray or all white. I mean, like light gray, like totally. Here in the Midwest, we have gray squirrels, some red, but mostly gray. And this one was like pure white, looked different than the others. But my thing was when we would watch it, try to interact with the other squirrels, none of the other squirrels would interact with it. But it always wanted to and I was always like, well, it doesn't know that it's not like them. I mean, I don't think it has the ability cognitively or just the moment presenting itself where it's going to see its reflection in full color next to another squirrel and be able to process, oh, I'm a different color than all these other squirrels. So sometimes I forget. And here's the weird thing that, like, so I'll just use Chris as the example here. Chris, if you were in the car listening to this with your family, stop. Hard stop right here. You can continue listening to it, but hard. And if your family is listening, they're like, I wonder why. Just tell them that they need to stop being nosy Nellies. Now, usually I would not say that to someone of Italian heritage, but Chris, because you're their child, I think you might be able to get away with it. And if you can't, I will miss you. Oh, hold on. I needed that to sound like a joke. So I grew up in the 80s. Anyone that's around my age, anyone that's probably maybe a little younger than 50, maybe 45, but definitely 50 to 60, lived in the your mama stage, where everything was about, the comments were, your mama's so fat, so-and-so. Your mama's so fat when she broke down, she bled and it was gravy. I don't know. It was the 80s, okay? I haven't kept up on my your mama quips and comebacks. However, it's still fun to make comments about that because people will be upset. Me, I'm not upset. Plus, my mom's 83. So if Chris made a comment about my mom, I would be like, have at it. And I hope you don't get an STD that she probably got at the retirement home. And that's all the sound that one gets. I do think there's a lot of STDs going on. There seem to be a lot of people coming out of different apartments that probably they do not live at or probably have any business being at. Anyway, I was talking about to Chris, and he was without a ride right now. And so occasionally his mom will take him to places. And I said, everyone knows my studio is my living room. And I said, someday, because we work together, I said, someday, come over before after work, we'll do the show. I go, someday we'll go home when we get off at the same time, we'll do a show, and then your mom can pick me up at my place. And he looks at me and I go, she knows where I live. And here's the bad thing. See, because I'm thinking that he's like, because him and I get along. So I'm thinking his mom's 83 like mine, where he would be like, oh, have at it. His mom's not 83. His mom's like probably younger than me, first of all. And she's married to someone of Italian descent. And I made that joke to him. Now, I was scared shitless. A couple mornings ago, I woke up in bed after making this joke, and Dakota was sleeping next to me, but when I woke up, all I said was this big old head in the bed next to me. I seriously thought it was a horse head. Yes, you're welcome. That was a reference to The Godfather. And if you're like, that seems pretty weird that you're just making all these connections from an Italian family to The Godfather to the Mafia. Okay, finish this phrase. Because I was thinking about this. I was lying in bed a few nights ago. When I go to bed, sometimes I will put headphones on. If I'm not if I'm going through things, and I'll try to put like white noise on in the background. And often jazz can be white noise to me in the background. But it has to be a certain kind of jazz. I can't describe it. I can't give it a name. But if I hear it, I know it. And if I don't hear it, I also know it. I know that doesn't help anyone. You're like, that is a horrible description of the jazz you like. I know. I am very well aware of that. But you know why I can do that?
Because I'm a genius.
Yeah, motherfuckers. Oh, hold on. I want to do this. Because Bobby will appreciate that.
Yeah, motherfuckers.
Oh, I love that one. I just love cussing with that. Hold on. Let me get some cuss words in.
Motherfucker, shit, cunt, dick, cock, pussy. That one's for Catherine because she thinks pussy's a cuss word. Is that really the vast number of cuss words that I know? Eesh.
Wow. I thought I would be able... I thought I would be more like Catherine was a couple episodes ago when she said...
Pussy?
And I said that wasn't very much of a cuss word. And then the next 30 seconds out of her mouth was just trash. I mean, ugh. I can't believe her man sticks his tongue or anything else in that mouth. Hold on. I almost pushed the wrong button, and that button would have been ducking, which I don't know what ducking does, so it would have been nothing. So jazz. I do listen to jazz occasionally. And the reason I listen to jazz and not a lot of times I'm listening to classical music as my white noise, my background noise. KPR, who I listen to here in the Kansas City area, which is Kansas Public Radio, because I can't find an NPR, Missouri Public Radio, to compare it with, but it's part of National Public Radio, or NPR. And so in the evening time, they have jazz. Jazz with David Bassie. So I listen to that at night, and sometimes it's very relaxing. I just turn it on, and I think a lot of it has to do with maybe, and I'm trying to think about this, maybe more with woodwinds like a clarinet or a saxophone, even strings, bass guitar, the things that, like the organ trios, those I find more difficult to palate. Those I find challenging at best. So I was laying in bed and I never know what type of jazz I'm going to get when I turn it on that night. And generally it will be similar songs. So if it's a good night, it's a good night. I can leave it on and doze off into sleepy land. If it's a bad night, then I hear it and I go to something else immediately, or don't listen to anything. So this was a bad night, and I thought about myself. I mean, I was just like, I don't know what was going on, but my response was I wanted to punch myself in the dick. I don't know what, it was almost like it was a weapon that was developed by probably a nefarious government, where when people hear, it's like the MK Ultra project. If you don't know, not going to explain it. So maybe it's like that, but instead of reading like Catcher in the Rye or whatever I need to read, if I hear jazz music, then I become a dick puncher. Now, I will say it could be in beta testing because I only wanted to punch my own dick. And I don't, unless you're trying to disable me, great, you succeeded. Congratulations, that was very good. You succeeded on doing that. But if I'm supposed to be punching other people in the dicks, first of all, I don't think that's very efficient. If you are trying to stop a horde of male marauders, if you're trying to stop a horde of marauders that have penises, balls, ball sacks, because here's the thing, too, that I think that people without penis don't understand. There is a huge difference in the pain that the penis can take and the amount of pain that the balls can take. So the penis, you can find videos of people putting weights on their penises and stretching them out to the ground and shit like that. I don't know, I don't look that up, at least not on my phone. But if you're naked and the wind blows too hard, it can bring you to your knees. I'm telling you, the slightest graze of the balls can do something that's different. And when you're young and your balls are your scrotum, your ball sack, for those of you that don't know what a scrotum is, or like me, just prefer the term ball sack, then when you're young, it's like tied up next to your body. And when you get old, you hit your balls a lot more. I mean, like, just like if you sit down on the toilet and you go to get up, you got to, instead of like kind of leaning forward and going up, you pretty much have to go straight up so you don't smack your ball sack against the front of the toilet seat. So I wanted to punch myself in the dick. Not the balls, but the dick. So I wanted to, so if you had to finish the phrase, Some jazz relaxes me, or you can fit in, if there's any type of music, say that country music, some country music relaxes me, some country music makes me want to fill in the blank. And don't use country music. Don't. No, if you use country, I don't want to know what you do at night. I don't want to know. No. So let's stick with jazz or classical or Kenny G. That would be fine. Some Kenny G relaxes me. Some Kenny G makes me want to punch myself in the dick. See? But don't use country music. I don't know. Like, some country music may relaxes you, and some may make you want to. Don't fill in the blank. No. Okay, so let's skip from that. I don't even. Yeah. Oh, what's this? So here's the full note from that. I kept coming back to it. Punching my own dick is the only thing that made it right. Wow. I wish I knew what song was playing there or what artist. Because I am curious now whether that is. I mean, I don't ever recall in 55 years of having an overwhelming urge to punch myself in the dick. I have asked Bobby to punch myself in the dick before, but that was more of a sexual thing and less of a I'm angry at this music thing. So, totally different. I mean, the feeling and the result may have been exactly the same, but the intent and the purpose would be different going into it. But yeah, I don't know why I felt so strongly about punching myself in the dick. And then there is another note. This is embarrassing when it happens in a jazz club. That would be funny. You're just out on the dance floor. Bobby and I are out there listening to some smooth jazz. And then they do like an organ trio thing. And I'm just out there just punching myself in the dick. And Bobby's like trying to hold my arm back and everyone. And then like people come to break up the fight because they think it's a fight, but they don't know it's me trying to punch my own dick. So they're confused. And then they stop. And then they think they may want to join punching me in the dick. That actually doesn't sound that bad. I mean, I would rather it not be punching in the dick, but like a whole bunch of people came up and they're like, oh, let's stop him fighting by jerking him off. If that's how you need to stop me from punching myself in my own dick, so be it. I am not going to stop you from doing what's right. I take that back. If I don't think it's right, I will stop you from doing it. So I don't know, because there is going to be considerable time from the ask to the commencement. Ask to the commencement. So the ask was, Bobby said, do we want to go to a certain club? Which we have identified as a swingers club. And you guys may be saying, hold on, I got something for this. So Bobby asked whether I wanted to go basically to a swingers club tonight. Ooh, finally. I mean, I know I had, whatever. Just, that's probably as close as I'm going to get to using that record scratch. I mean, get it without having to go back like I did and do it again. That's probably as close as I'm going to get. So Bobby had asked whether I wanted to go to a specific club. Now, the reason being, I'd mentioned downtown earlier. I had mentioned the Power and Light District earlier. This is almost, I want you to know that I did not tie this together previously prior to saying this, but now it's kind of tying together. So the Power and Light District, which I mentioned earlier, which was 40 minutes away with traffic and speed limits and things, is now probably 20 minutes away with good traffic. That being said, it's still 20 minutes each way. This other club is 5 minutes if you hit every red light. It is a different demographic. Well, obviously, it's a different demographic. A bar scene versus a swingers club. Now that I've said that out loud, I know that those are not totally dissimilar, but I believe the club that we're talking about does not do anything to dissuade the opinion or belief that there may be swinging happening at this club. Not at the club. Short recap, if you don't remember, Bobby and I went to this club during the wintertime last year because we didn't want to drive downtown. We walk in. So here's the deal. I will usually smoke before we go somewhere. And then Bobby, once we get there, Bobby will drink. So I have sobered up so I can drive home many hours later. And Bobby can drink. Best of both worlds. So we worked that out. So she drove. I had already been smoking. There was a cover charge to get in. So we got in and we're standing there. And we're absorbing everything because we had not even been to a club in many years. I can't even tell you the last time. A club like that. I mean, like a club that is geared towards dancing and drinking. And that is what, not like a bar area that has a separate little dance floor, but that's what this club is. It's a discotheque. So I was standing there just having sensory overload. Because you know how I don't like dumb people. I'm going to say that these are, at least when you go to a quote-unquote normal bar, the patrons are generally younger, and if they're acting stupid, you can at least go, maybe I was like that at that age. But this club is much older. I would say more near my age, 50-ish or so. And there were some younger people there. We were there one night when a girl came up and bought Bobby and I and everyone else standing against the wall shots. And I think it was her 21st birthday. So it was very strange, to say the least. So I was absorbing, and Bobby is like, you brought me to a swingers club. Or maybe it's just like, you brought me. Hold on.
You brought me to a swingers club. What do you got planned, big boy?
So I go, what do you mean? She goes, read the room. Nope.
Read the room, motherfucker.
So I looked around, and every table, it was an older guy and his wife or girl, whatever. Well, it was generally older guy, older woman, younger guy. Like pool boy, yard boy. What it was like, and then it was always the woman was sitting in the middle. And if you watch, like the older man would like be rubbing the woman's back, and then he'd stop, and then the younger man would rub their back. So that was the giveaway. It was like, So let me say this, though. I was very impressed with Bobby that she was able to identify that, because generally I'm the one saying, you're being naive about this situation. Why aren't you reading the situation better? And I was still oblivious. Like literally, if like a couple would have come up, like say an 80-year-old couple came up to me and goes, hey, would you like us to buy you a drink, young man? I would have gone, sure. Oblivious. Until Bobby tells me to read the room. Well, at that point, we pay to cover. I'm high. So I go, we might as well stay. You get some drinks. As soon as I sober up, we can leave. So she quickly took me up on that offer, and she decided that she would try to play catch up to me. Because sometimes smoking will get you to a point quicker than, say, alcohol will get you to a somewhat similar point. But it was just crazy. We just watched. We just watched. And then we went back for a party. Someone that Bobby used to work with, their 50th birthday party was there. And then there were a lot of like two guys with a young girl. And so we're watching a TV show a movie last night. It was called something. This is how good I am. I can't remember the name. The Escort. I don't know why you can't remember that. It was called The Escort. It's on Hulu right now. It's good. Kind of a rom-com. It's about a guy who writes a story about a Stanford-educated girl who becomes an escort, wants to find out, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? They fall in love. I mean, it's a rom-com. So if you didn't see that, like if you don't see at the beginning or watch the trailer and think, oh, okay, those two are going to fall in love, then, wow. But there was a point in there where she would be out like at a bar or club or something like that, and it would be two guys with her. And they were like probably guys my age, like in their 50s, like 40s or 50s, stuff like that. And we saw that at this club as well. Like we remember there were these two guys, probably in their 50s, sitting there watching a girl as she danced in front of them on the dance floor. It was the weirdest girl. I mean, like Bobby. So if Bobby danced for me like that, first of all, if she danced for me like that anywhere, it would just be like it was just me and her. Everything else would disappear, I guess. So I wouldn't. But I don't know. I guess maybe if you're spending money on stuff, then you're more, you're invested into it. I'm not saying that they were spending money on it, but if someone said, oh, they spent money on her, I would be like, duh. I mean, it would not be surprising. So anyway, Bobby wanted to go. She had asked last night, hey, do you want to go to, oh, hold on. I got to find it. I don't know where it is because I moved all these stinking buttons. Now I don't know where things are. I have no idea where my censor button is. Oh, there it is. So I'm going to see if I can do this. I should probably test. I'm not going to say the real name of the club because I'm going to see if I can even beep at the right time. And I know most of you are saying, what? I thought you were a genius. Okay, dial it back a notch here, people. Obviously, if you're saying that, this is the first show you've ever listened to. So go back and listen to the other shows, and you'll be like, oh, this is just a running theme. He has no idea what he's doing. So last night, we're sitting on the couch, and Bobby says, hey, would you like to go to tomorrow night? I couldn't do it. See, I had to stop. Would you like to go to night? See, no. I can't, nah. And I can't have someone else doing that because then they got to be in my head. And honestly, no one wants to be in my head. So she asked if I wanted to go to this club. And I go, are you serious? She's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I want to dance. We don't have to be involved in the other stuff. Whatever other stuff I think might be going on in there, we don't have to be involved in that. That being said, this morning when I saw Bobby, I was like, hey, are we still going to go to tonight? And she goes, oh, I don't know. Because then it was the cover. And I was like, it doesn't matter. I think we should go. Worst case scenario, it's $20. I think. And if we just go for dinner like at 7 o'clock, I don't think we have to pay a cover. That probably needed this. I'm not sure I want to go at 7:30 and stay till midnight. I know that we can't because of our schedules anyway. But, yeah. So it was Bobby's idea, and I don't know because my birthday is a week from today, the week from the day that I'm recording this episode. So maybe this is my happy birthday. It reminds me of Norm Macdonald had an old TV show called The Norm Macdonald Show, very creative. And there was an episode once I used to watch it. It was a sketch comedy show. There was an episode called Threesome. And if you can find it on the internet, which I think you can find it on YouTube, and it's horrible quality, but it is so funny. And his wife gets him a threesome, says, I'm getting you a threesome for your birthday. And it has one of the best lines out of anything that Bobby and I still use. So maybe that's what. Maybe Bobby wanted to go and find a third wheel and make this a tricycle. Now, I have often said that one needs to always be prepared for a threesome or an orgy. I still am not. I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do. I can't even think about that. Even if I try, like if we found out Bobby had an identical twin, separated at birth, like if someday I'm like, hey, Bobby, what are you doing? They're like acting all weird. And I'm like thinking, oh, Bobby's trying to gaslight me. And then Bobby walks up and she doesn't know either, but she has an identical twin. So they look identical. I still wouldn't. I would be so excited. I'd be like, oh, there's two, but I wouldn't know whose ass do you start with first? Do you just have sex with Bobby and then do like other stuff with the almost Bobby? I mean, I don't know. I still don't know at this point. I feel like I should. I feel like the amount of time that I spent. See, here's the thing. I spend a lot of time talking about this, but I spend very, very little time actually thinking about it. That was deep. I'm going to give myself just a second to think about that. Damn it. You know, I keep doing my vape pen. I keep warming it up, the cart up, and then I set it down because I have to wait 10 seconds. And in that 10 seconds, I have now forgotten like 6 times to take a hit. Gert's got my new and in. Ah, yummy. So I don't know if this is a birthday present for me. And if it is, I don't know if I'm gonna use the line, well, why would you be involved? Gosh, that's funny. Oh, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could be involved in that. Well, why would you be involved? Ah, Norm Macdonald. What a funny man that guy was. So on the next episode, the next episode is going to be Antonio. We're going to talk about style. I will do my best to try and ask questions that a wide number of people can benefit from the answer. I don't want to make it where I'm asking questions more about ourselves. We've done many interviews. I've done interviews on this show and the others on my other shows. We did one on The Longest One Night Stand with Bobby and Roe. We had Mariah from the Salty Sex Cast. I believe that is the correct name of the show. Great show, but about just sex in general, your body, your others' bodies. And I wanted to be more of a conversation just about what they were doing. I did not think Bobby, this is early on when Bobby and I had not done very many shows. I did not think Bobby would be comfortable talking to her and asking questions and things like that. So I did not think Bobby was going to be on the show. Bobby decided to be on the show, so it kind of changed the dynamics of it. Not her fault, my fault, 100% my fault. I changed the question and make it more based around Bobby and myself than I did based around just general questions about what she did, what she was promoting, the stereotypes that she was trying to change, things like that. And it took a different turn. It was still a fine conversation, I think, but to this day, that is the interview that I feel the most, if I was going to feel shame, which I don't, But if I was going to feel shameful for a show, it would have been that one. That being said, so the next show that I have is going to be with Antonio. We are going to talk about men's style and other things, not just men's style. We're going to just talk about being a real man. If you're listening and have not seen, you can go to YouTube, Real Men, Real Style. You can watch some of the videos. There's hundreds, if not over 1,000. I mean, there's so many videos there, and they are very good. He is very good. This is going to sound derogatory, but he's a very good pitch man. And I mean that in the very nicest. I very much mean that complimentary. But he does have partnerships with different groups, which I don't blame them for wanting him to promote their product, but he is great at that. I mean, because I do want to ask him whether he writes that content or whether someone else does, because it is very good. So I'm really excited about that. Now, so that's going to be episode 125, in case you're keeping Jack at home. You're not. That's fine. Episode 126, I will try to give an update on whether we went to, I had to make sure that was, I didn't want to, it would have been funny if I would have been like, let me find the right one. If I would have been like, and we went to, and then I named the club, and then I pushed the wrong button. Eesh. And it doesn't. So, yeah. So I'm just not even going to try that. If we go to the club, then I will let people know whether it was an enjoyable dance evening or whether something else happened. And by something else, I mean, just kidding. Anyway, I am so excited. I don't even have notes for the next show. Looking for notes for, so for you all that don't listen to both of our shows, and I totally understand that, but Bobby and I do a show, my wife and I do a show called The Longest One Night Stand with Bobby and Ro. I'm Ro, she's Bobby. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is I read a story, and I believe this happened in the UK. Someone was paid 300 times their weekly amount of pay. And they were actually the ones that said, hey, I got too much money. HR said, hey, can you just go to your bank and return it, whatever? And they said, yes, sure. And then they disappeared. So I believe that the number that was deposited was like almost 180,000 US. Because I think it was like $500 and something a week. And I think it came out to about $180,000. Almost 600 a week, I think it was, in US dollars. And they disappeared. And I'm trying to think about, so first of all, I was thinking, if you're 62, I mean, I don't know whether they'd be able to withhold your Social Security. Like, I don't know whether they could put a lien or a garnishment on your paycheck, or on your Social Security or whatever, if you have some social net over there. Because to me, $180,000, if I'm 20 years old, then that really doesn't do me any good. If I'm 30 years old, so the best case scenarios I've heard are some people could live in some locales for like $2,000 a month, everything included. Your everything, food, everything. So that's $24,000 a year. So you're looking at what? 5 years, 6 years, somewhere in that neighborhood. And that's if you just keep to that budget, inflation doesn't happen, things like that. So at 30, $180,000 isn't going to do it. Now, if you got 300, so say your weekly amount is $1,500. And then they give you 300 times your amount. Then if you're like 55, so Bobby and I are going to have that talk, because if you don't have the talk, I know that I always say, be prepared for an orgy or a threesome. And I've just mentioned that I am not personally prepared for an orgy or a threesome. But this is something that you should be like, because I have had too much money deposited by my company into my account. So when I was a trainer with Sprint, I relocated from Kansas City to Tampa area. And when I made that move, they gave me a cost of living raise and another raise for taking that position there and some other things. So there was a sizable raise that happened. So I moved there, and my first paycheck, I got this enormous, huge lump sum of money. And I'm trying to think of how long I'd have been with the company when I was transferring down there. I think 2.5 years at this point, maybe 2 years at this point. And I just got this astronomical amount. And what they had done is they had given me that pay bump, but for some reason made it retroactive to the day I had started, which for me was, yeah. So because I had already been paid the other amount, all that back pay was not as much as, I mean, it wasn't like I got the full amount again. Like, let's say that I was making $1,000 before, and then I was making $1,200 when I moved. They only paid me that extra $200, but they did it all the way back to like 24 months. And so it was a sizable amount. So I called HR. It literally, I was surprised. And now that I've read this story, it is surprising at how difficult it is for people to take money back. Now, my hypothesis is that someone would rather take the chance of that missing money not being found, or not being found for some time, or not being understood what happened to it, than wanting to take the blame for causing that issue. So it's almost like, here's what I feel. Like they would say, oh, I deposited too much money in this person's account, we need to get it back, that they would feel like their job is in jeopardy. Like immediately their job is in jeopardy. Whereas if they wait to see if it's ever found out, their job's not in jeopardy until that point. So it delays the anxiety, whatever you want to term into that. But I wonder if that's the case. Let's see. Is that about it for this show? Probably should be. I apologize. I'm going to apologize in reverse. I apologize first to Chris's dad. I apologize to Chris's mom. I have not said anything rude yet, and I won't. And I apologize to Chris for giving you I've added years to you because of your advanced wisdom. Look at that. Nice save by me. Yeah. Because like I say, if someone said something about my mom, I'd be like, she's 83, have at it. May I call you daddy? Anyhow, anyway, I just want to find out how much money Bobby is going to need. So we'll talk about that on the next show, on the longest one night stand. Because at this point, it is different for me. At 55, it is different than it would have been at 45 or would have been at 30. Or would have been at 25. Because 25, I didn't have Bobby. I didn't have anything. I could have literally disappeared. And that would be the thing. Like, how much would it be? Because Bobby may say there is nothing. Because I don't think Bobby could leave. Meaning, I don't think she could drop everything and then not reach out. Like, if we just had to, Like, say they deposited, and I haven't given this enough thought yet, but let's say they deposited $10 million accidentally. And I could liquid, they had no ability to freeze or take that money. I had the ability to immediately transfer that to, see, and that's the thing. Should I, if I'm going to say I'm prepared for this, should I open a Swiss bank account or at least know the process? So if I wake up one day and Bobby's like, we have $10 million in our bank account. Because then if I could transfer it to a spot that I know that it could not be reached by anyone other than myself or Bobby, then what do I do? I mean, and how do I leave with Dakota? She would be my downfall. So that's where you get, that's when I say feelings are everyone's downfalls. Because if you have feelings, like when you see this, like, I'm going to kill your kid if you don't tell me this information. No, I'll tell you anything you want to know. I'm not saying I have not been in that situation. I don't think I will. I don't have a lot of information I think that people are just dying to know. But I would be like, okay. I mean, we all die sometime. And once again, I'm not advocating someone assassinating someone else, but let's use animals out in the woods. That's the easiest way. When I hear, I am not a hunter. I am not a hunter for many reasons. I don't want to look my food in the eye. I don't want to lay out in the brush. I don't want to be stinky. There's almost all of hunting, my dislike for hunting, almost all of it has nothing to do with shooting the animal. Because here's my thought on that. An animal that gets shot and killed, a wild animal, that is probably the best way for that animal to die. Because if you think about the other way, most of them don't pass away in their sleep. Most of them don't go back to their burrow, lay their heads down, and die at the ripe old age of 22. And I don't know if that's an old age. I don't even know what animal I was using as an example there, but you get what I was trying to say. That's why I think it's funny. When I feed the squirrels, they don't give a shit about my dog, my Doberman. I will have her, if she's on leash, or even if she's on leash, but I have put her in a stay, I can go over and feed the squirrels and she's 15 feet away. They'll keep an eye on her because they always think, well, this dick could turn on us. This could be like a long con. He could be fattening us up and then he's going to grab us, or the dog's going to grab us. So they keep an eye on her. But they're not worried about her because they know that she does not pose a threat to her. But if you hear a hawk screech, man alive, watch a squirrel. So my thing is, what have they seen? Because they've obviously seen my dog do nothing, so they don't give a shit. So what have they seen? Were they out eating somewhere and they're like with their brother? So one's Squirrely McSquirrely Pants, the other one is Squirrely McSquirrely Pants the second, and first goes the second, hey, how you doing? Or this goes, nuts you're eating, and for some reason this one has an accent. He's like, yeah, I love these nuts, they're great, man. And then and then and a hawk comes down and takes Squirrely 2. I mean, imagine the PTSD that Squirrely 1 is going to have. And you can see it in their face, their little tiny beautiful squirrel faces, when a hawk is screeching. Okay. So, anyhow, anyway, this is what I plan is going to happen for me over the next few days. I am going to either be involved or not be involved in my first threesome. And I'm going to talk about style. So that, and then, wow, what a way to start my birthday week. Oh, dang it. Oh, that's nice. So, hey, for everyone else that's been listening to the show, I really appreciate it. My name is Ro. Next time we're going to have Antonio on, we're going to talk about a lot of cool style. Until that time, you've been listening to the Stone Genius Podcast. My name is Ro. Thanks for listening.